Hi, welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight will feature the case of Sheila Davalloo, a name you may know, a name you may not. Well, let's find out more. Go ahead and dive on in. Sheila Davalloo. Sheila was born on May 11th, 1969. She was born in Iran, and her family emigrated to the United States in the mid-1970s. Will Sheila, now a U.S. citizen, take full advantage of the educational system? She went on to attend SUNY Stony Brook, where she earned a biochemistry degree. She was one smart cookie. She later met a gentleman and married her first husband, named Farid Musavi. Well, Farid later filed for divorce when he learned that Sheila was having an affair with a gentleman named Paul Christos. Well, who's Paul Christos? Sheila met Paul while she was attending graduate school in New York. Well, after getting her divorce and her degree, Sheila took a job at a company called Purdue Pharma in Stamford, Connecticut. The position she got was as a research scientist. Well, Sheila and Paul, they did the right thing. They went on to get married. Did Sheila behave herself after that, or happily ever after? Let's find out. While working at Purdue Pharma, Sheila met a gentleman named Nelson Sessler, and together they started having an affair. Sheila told Nelson she was divorced, so anytime Nelson would come over Sheila's, she would have to hide all of her husband's belongings. Nelson started dating another woman at the same time named Annalisa Raimondo. The thing was, Nelson and Sheila were not exclusive. They were not quote unquote boyfriend and girlfriend. So they were each free to date whomever. Well, Nelson and Sheila kind of stopped dating in late 2001 because Nelson grew more serious in his relationship with Annalisa. Well, November 8th, 2002, unexpectedly, the body of Annalisa Raimondo was found in her Stamford, Connecticut condo. She had been bludgeoned in the head several times and stabbed 9 times in the face, neck, and chest. The 911 call that police received was really bizarre. It had been an anonymous call. A woman had said somebody had been stabbed at that condo, and they were a neighbor and wanted to make sure that they got the call. Well, police, always looking at a spouse first, questioned Nelson, but he had an airtight alibi, so he was not considered a suspect. He had no idea who would do this to Annalisa. The police asked Nelson for a list of all of his ex-girlfriends just to follow up with. Well, since Sheila and Nelson were never officially boyfriend and girlfriend, he did not put her name on the list. Well, now Nelson is grieving, and Sheila was there to comfort him. Well, they quickly rekindled their affair. Together, they went on several weekend ski trips together. Now, March 23rd, 2003, Sheila Davalloo was with her husband, Paul Christos, and one night decides they should play a sex game. She had him blindfolded and handcuffed to a chair and was touching him with various objects. Then she proceeded to stab him with a sharp knife 2 times. After the stabbing, Sheila stalled in getting him medical attention, which he desperately needed. Well, she finally decided to drive her husband to the hospital. However, she tried to stab him again in the parking lot. Thank goodness he survived. But it was only after he had to have open heart surgery. Well, the following day, Sheila was charged with attempted murder, assault, and criminal possession of a weapon. It is at this time Nelson learned that Sheila was not divorced. She was married. The funny thing is, cell phone records show Sheila called Nelson immediately after the initial assault. But why? Nelson told police Sheila called him to invite him over for dinner that night. Unbelievable. February 19th, 2004. Sheila had a non-jury trial, and her defense was that she was emotionally troubled and never meant to hurt her husband. Prosecutors, however, argued that Sheila wanted her husband, Paul Christos, dead so she could be with her lover and co-worker from Purdue Pharma, Nelson Sessler. Well, this went just like you would expect. Sheila was convicted of attempted murder and was sentenced to 25 years in state prison without parole for the attempted murder of her husband, Paul. Well, is this where Sheila's story ends? Not even close. Sheila, now in custody, police had more time to look into her. Originally, back when Annalisa was killed, Sheila was not considered a suspect. Well, now that her affair with Nelson became public, police dove back in. Prosecutors were looking and alleging that Sheila's desire to be with Nelson could have led her to commit the November 2002 murder of Annalisa Raimondo. Well, she was charged with that murder November 6th, 2007. The trial of Sheila Davalloo for Annalisa's murder did not begin until 2012. That is 5 years that she had to wait for that trial. Sheila, at this trial, elected to have a jury trial, and she chose to act as her own defense attorney and represent herself. She was not a lawyer, but she chose to do it anyway. Well, Nelson was there, and during court stated to the jury, quote, "I had no idea she was obsessed. We never had that kind of relationship. It was completely left field for me," end quote, in regards to his relationship with Sheila. Well, on January 31st, 2012, the Connecticut Forensic Science Laboratory explained the physical evidence at the crime scene. They stated Sheila's DNA and blood was found in Annalisa's home. Investigators had found her DNA in a blood stain left in the bathroom sink handle. In addition, a voice recognition expert testified that he used digital voice analysis software to determine that that anonymous 911 caller who lured police to Annalisa's home was Sheila Davalloo. Before receiving her sentence, Sheila addressed the court and took several moments to bizarrely thank everybody. She thanked the judge, the corrections officers, and the jury. What she said was, quote, "First and foremost, I'd like to thank God for giving me the strength and the courage to stand here today. It is hard to sit here and withstand those harsh words," end quote. See, Sheila said she was troubled when she heard about how Annalisa's parents questioned their faith after their daughter was brutally murdered. She's questioning Annalisa's parents. Sheila said, quote, "I pray for them, and I hope that the punishment you hand down here today will give them closure and some kind of solace," end quote. Well, the jury deliberated, and Sheila was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Annalisa Raimondo. She was sentenced to serve 50 years for this offense. The sentence will begin after she completes her initial sentence in New York, the attempted murder of her then husband, Paul Christos. Well, before she was led away from the courtroom by the court marshals, Sheila had a bizarre request for the judge. She asked him to issue a temporary stay of execution of her sentence so she could work on an appeal right away in the verdict while in a Connecticut prison. The judge immediately denied her motion. That is the case of Sheila Davalloo. Thank you for sticking around for another episode of Danny After Dark. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Do you have a question or comment about this case? Leave it below. Let's be interactive. Do you have a suggestion for an upcoming case or something you would like me to cover? Well, leave it down below. You may see it in a future episode. Until next time, remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us.